to pray. There's no angels where I go, only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Kirusho here. Now then, whenever we last left off, the Celestial attack had just happened, and Deku had just saved this strange but familiar woman. Now, they had also gotten back to the church, along with the sisters giving them permission to train, trying to calm down the two asshats that are trying to battle all the time. Now, they are then told that they are going to have a bit of a challenge, and well, they are also going to be pulled out of school for quite a while. It's going to be said that you are going back to your, well, home, family business and all that. But really, we are going to be heading somewhere different. We need to get your implants taken care of, and actually initiate stages 6 to stages 9, along with introducing to you hypnotherapy. This will be quite difficult, however, as she would look over to Shinsho, saying that he will not be able to use his quirk for this. In fact, it is going to be far more difficult for you. This training may actually break your mind, but you will be put back together. If you are strong. Now, they would leave the church, everyone packing up bags, as All Might would have showed up once again. He's more confused, asking exactly where are they going. Yes, hi All Might. You see, we are headed back home. But really, I thought you were going to go to UA. Why would we go to UA? Well, it's just... as All Might would try and think of a good reason, other than Nezu keeping an eye on these 8. If he tells them that Nezu has an eye on them, then they may feel weirded out and or singled out. So he would somewhat just lie, saying that he seems to be hero material. Deku just somewhat saying, thank you, but really, we need to go back home and find out what's going on. As these two would continue talking until his sister would finally arrive. She would shake his hand and somewhat be friendly with him, saying that it's nice to meet the #1 hero. Young man, this is All Might. Yeah? And? Show some manners. This man is the symbol of peace. As Deku would have just looked directly at him. Deku's, well, around his size, and he's just thinking. Is a symbol of peace one of them? As the sister can clearly see this look on Deku's face. He's thinking. As she would somewhat just back him away, saying that it was very nice of you to worry about this boy, All Might, but really, we have everything under control. There are matters to attend to back at the Himalayas. Actually, we do need to head there soon, so if you would please not bother us. All Might still being a bit more confused. He wants to question every single thing they're saying, but if he does, he looks like, well, he just seems a bit crazy. Basically screaming out front of a church? That's not really a good for public image. As he would have left, everyone getting their bags packed and heading for a ship. As they are told that they are going to be going to the lab, then going out to space. The organs, they should be fine. The time you need to heal will be fast, relatively. But just know that it's going to be a minute before you can move. The sister continuing. They would hop onto the ship, and they would then leave. as they would have arrived into this town. Now, whenever they arrive, they would find that the town is relatively lively. They are awaiting their return once again. The males immediately being prepped for surgery. Them all getting their new organs. Except for the Calsa, the one that says 14 to 17 years. They're not getting that one yet. Because I want to say that one's going to be a bit more difficult. Rebuilding technology, or well, at least looking for it, and implanting it into your body, they need to wait on that. If they implant the node now, it is going to mess up their entire process. So they would skip phase 6 for now, coming back to it at a later time. While they get phases 7 through 9 set up and actually put in their bodies. Which would be very, very strange and difficult, since they are told that they are not going to be put under for surgery this time. Most of the organs the Space Marines get implanted within their bodies, they are awake for. Only certain things require them to be unconscious. This being heavily, heavily painful for, well, them, as they would eventually gotten the implants and leave. Now, they would basically be sewn back up and moved to the ship. Now, whenever they are moved back to the ship, they are actually given heavy amounts of painkillers. Anything that can help them dull the pain, since it can be best described as agonizing and heavily, heavily traumatic to your brain. They are basically somewhat begging for it and actually annoyed by it. Mineta, Shinsho, and Kaminari being the ones who are somewhat screaming about it. Deku and Bakugo being able to at least hold in their screams. Now, they would launch off into space. The sisters taking them to the nearest system, telling them that they will be getting things prepared. This is going to be another challenge, as they would go on saying that they are going to be going more and more intensely, along with actually having to clear out somewhat of a station, which would confuse quite a lot of them. They would just say that on the station there was a distress signal. It was activated a long time ago. Since the brothers were underneath when it was active, it is most likely been deemed safe. However, we do not know exactly what is in there. It could be orcs or it could be Tyranids. Either one of them could have finally come out of the other side, which would confuse everyone. The sister would just say that she will explain that one day. Best leave it to the brothers. Now, she would walk away, as everyone is somewhat hanging out, or at least trying to. They're all basically resting and told that this challenge will be highly difficult. So, they would have been doing this for around 2 weeks, actually somewhat getting agitated and quite a bit annoyed. Just sitting here relaxing, that's not their style. They've never been like this. As Kirishima would finally somewhat snapped, hurrying up and walking over to a wall, basically beginning to throw punches at it, as she just gets more and more annoyed. Eventually, she would have calmed down, and Deku would have done something that he would finally find a bit easier. He would move. Sitting up out of his hospital bed, basically, and getting up. Bakugo is somewhat trying to do the same. The amount of pain he's feeling, it is bad, but it should be fine. These two basically have to fight through this and tough it out. Standing up. Kirishima, or Kaminari, Mineta, and Shinsho, they are still asleep. They've basically been keeping themselves unconscious to help heal more and more, along with somewhat dull the pain. They are at least doing this since there's nothing really much else to do to pass the time. The sisters told them to stay bedridden, so might as well catch up on something you won't get for a couple weeks. Now, Deku, he would have sat up and walk over, bringing his hand up, catching hers. Her trying to look at him. Deku telling her to calm down. He thought he was the crazy one. As she would just look up at him. She would then back away, saying that she... You don't get it. We can't fight, we can't train, we can't do anything we've been taught to do. Yes, well, I'm quite aware of that. Being bound to a bed for 2 weeks isn't fun either. So exactly what is your plan? Keep punching the wall until you feel better? Well, that was basically it, but now you interrupted me. So you're gonna start over, right? As she would somewhat just stop. Saying that she's sorry. It's just, I get it. You don't need to. Now, as he would turn to every one of them, saying that they should go check with the sisters. As they would leave. Bakugo taking the lead. They would all go and find that the sisters, they are still trying to decode parts of this transmission. Most of it they had. However, it seemed to have an error message in it. So, clearly corruption occurred. They would be doing this as Deku and everyone will walk up, asking exactly what their mission will be. The sisters would say that their mission is to observe and actually watch what we do, along with cover our backs. This trial, as we'll call it, will be something that you will all have to earn a respect about. If you are able to do so, then you will prove yourself. We'll be going to more and more of these stations, however. The process is going to be faster than normal. As she would just activate the warp drive. Them immediately leaving and jumping into the next sector, as you can call it. Arriving at the system. They would see this giant ship. As they would board it. The sisters saying that this is good. Now, her turning and saying that you two, come with us. Pointing directly at Deku, Ibara, Kirishima, and, well, let's see, Momo. Them saying that you will all be something of a team. Now, you, Cornchild, yes ma'am, you are going to have to prove yourself tenfold. I've seen your little stunts. Impressive, yes, but not respectable, reckless. The sister going on more and more. Deku clearly telling that she somewhat doesn't like him. He understands her though. Him just listening to her and repeating what she needs him to say. As they would board the ship. Deku doesn't wear this uniform, however. He carries a sword, a gun, a standardized rifle, as you can call it, or at least something heavy. Like a. Hang on, let me find a picture of the weapon. Now, the guns they carry are actually these make and model. I don't know the exact, name of them, but I do know that the ones that the Sisters of Battle, or Sisters of Silence, as someone said in the comments, I believe, they are a different version of the standard bolter that the Space Marines wear. Jesus, it is late. That the Space Marines use. They are lighter and actually, I believe, more efficient, since they use heavy weaponry, but the Sisters of Battle may use lighter versions of machine guns. Or, lighter than the Space Marines. Now, they would be given these along with somewhat of a flare or a grenade. Actually, both. Now, as that happens, they would walk onto the ship, finding that everything seems to be empty and, old. This place looks like it hasn't been touched in years. To which the sisters would correct Ibarra, saying that this place hasn't been touched in millennia. They have gone somewhat quiet. It's coming from this place. The person who sent it is most likely long dead, but that will not stop them from observing things. This world, or this era of technology, was considered to be the finest they had. Let's see. From what the brothers said, now, the sister, she would begin saying that if her math suits her correctly, then this would most likely be the, let's see, from what the Marines have taught us, the 35th century was whenever they went into hibernation, or stasis, so 10,000 years later. As she would just say, possibly the later centuries. Now, in all actuality, I want to say that it would be the 145th century, but that would be a bit too high of a number. So let's just say that she would say that she's not sure of the answer, which would make Deku and everyone a bit more, what the hell? Now, with that being said, they would continue walking through the area, finding this to be more and more intense and strange. The atmosphere feels like it's constantly changing in here. It's insane. To which a sound can be heard. This would be something the sisters were not expecting. They somewhat activate a bit of a trap. They are surrounded as the sisters begin firing off their weapons, telling everyone that they need to make their way through now. Them all running through the ship. Deku would take point as he would walk forward and begin to blast into the darkness. He actually did take 2 weapons, so this will work perfectly for him. As he would be walking forward, blasting into these small creatures. Wherever they are, they seem to be heavily, heavily mutated, and were accustomed to the darkness. So they've just been nesting here, correct? That is bad. As Deku would finally get close enough. As soon as he gets close enough, he would hold out this giant sword over his head and bring it downwards, cutting into and actually killing this creature. As they would continue on. They would be heading to the captain's, quarters. They would find it and find his personal logs, finding that the ship was attacked by something. it seemed to be an orc, or well, at least something accustomed to an orc. Whatever it was heavily mutated when they found it. They would view a log, seeing this giant orc running through and actually into the hallway. It being twice the size of a space marine, which would shock the sisters. Them watching as this giant thing would immediately stab upwards and killing one marine, using its body as a shield to actually run through the gunfire of more. As it would have been stabbed into one with a giant arm that looks like a sword, and continue by cutting through more and more of them, screaming. This thing's been clearly mutated, or well, was an orc. It seems like it was in the process of being turned into a tyrannid, or well, having its DNA altered. But that's not correct. As they would continue on, they think if this place really is that heavily infected, they will just have to take it down in one fell swoop, activating a self-destruct. Now, they would get to the cargo bay, them wanting to see exactly where this place is. If they have any more available ships, they can use their technology, salvaging pieces or even taking them and adding them to part of their own fleet they are building. As they would have walked in. As soon as that happens, Ibarra, she would feel the atmosphere change, telling them that she's not really sure about this. To which they would just say that this will be perfectly fine. Whatever is happening, it will be okay. As the Sister of Battle would step forward. As soon as she does, Deku would have stepped in front of her, holding out his hand and throwing outwards to a punch. As a large spike would form in the wall, going straight for the sister's head as Deku would sock it, breaking it in half and sending it flying behind her, stabbing into the wall. Her just staring directly up at Deku, saying that that was a good judgment, but you do not pass. A simple thank you would work. What would I thank you? If anything, this was part of your duty. Yes, ma'am. Deku turning and walking into the airlock, or well, seeing exactly what they have. There are corpses everywhere. Some of them seem to be human, but they're so old that they're basically turning to dust. They seem to be preserved, though. How? So, they would explore and continue more, as a large sound could be heard. Whatever is here, they seem to have either pissed it off or waken it up. Most likely, both. As this giant creature that they've seen on the cameras, it is here. In fact, it looks bigger and even heavier mutated. As they would continue on, Deku would begin opening fire on it as it would charge forwards directly at one of the sisters. Deku actually stepping outwards and throwing his sword up as high as possible. As soon as he swings his sword upwards, he would have slashed and actually cut off this thing's giant arm. The one that has the blade on it, as Deku continued fighting with it. Ibarra going to restrain it, and Momo continuing to try and help. She begins to create certain things that can help Deku. She makes more ammo and creates more for herself, firing into it and doing what she can. Also creating grenades and something to piss it off. She makes flashbangs, which Deku would have been able to turn off his implants in his face and in his ears. The ones in his ears stopping himself from hearing that loud bang, and the implants in his eyes to reduce the flash of the grenade. Him being able to quickly turn them back on, and actually fight. The sisters somewhat being impressed, as through this large, gleam of light, they are able to see Deku continuously fighting. Kirishima running forward. She begins to fire into it and actually piss it off. It immediately turns its attention to her and running forward. It doesn't seem to be using its vision or, any sense of hearing. It seems to go by whatever attacks it, so it is definitely blind. Or does not use its vision as a mode of communication or even registering prey or predators. Most likely, its first instinct is going to be to attack. Now, she would be firing into this thing. Deku being able to grab its tail and begin to grab at it and pull it. Deku, he's holding his ground against it. Ibara being able to restrain it more and more and more through the vines. Her running forward and immediately stabbing upwards in this thing's face with her sword. As soon as she stabs upwards, this thing would begin by screaming at her and actually somewhat gassing her in the face. Whatever it just threw at her would have made her back up and begin to somewhat cough, as she's throwing her hands out in front of her to get it away from her face. She has taken a deep breath of this chemical, however, as she would fall onto the ground, and someone starts spazzing out. One of the sisters immediately looking down at her and trying to understand what happened. Her body should be resistant to this, but oh no. Them continuing on, telling Deku that he needs to hurry, find a way to kill this thing, now. As they continue firing into it, Deku basically holding onto it. He would start going a bit mad, as he begins to somewhat snap. He's been using all his strength to hold this thing back, as he would begin by using as much force as he can muster to throw it outwards and actually rip off its tail, throwing it directly into one of the ships. It would go smashing into it as it would try to get back up. Deku running over and immediately using the tail to stab upwards into its body. It beginning to scream. It's calling for reinforcements. So, that's going to be more difficult. As the sisters can hear these things, awakening and actually running into the airlock, or even the cargo bay. As Deku would return telling Momo that she needs to do what they did last time. You can't be serious, you're crazy. Do I look like I'm joking? We need this now, otherwise no one is getting out of here alive. Ibara, I need you to ground everyone, okay? As she would somewhat listen. She's heard about what Deku's done before, but this will be intense to live through. Momo running over and immediately begins putting in what she needs to. The sisters running over to her and actually helping her with this process. Getting everyone up to where they need to. As this thing would be running forward and actually trying to slam into Deku. It is holding, or at least seems to have, a giant plate stuck in its hand. It is basically using that to smash into and block some of the bullets whenever it tries to attack Deku. Deku being able to lure it to the edge of the cargo bay. As he would be firing upwards into it, he would fire up into its face as he would get its attention. Running forward and actually sliding underneath it, grabbing Ibara's sword and sliding it downwards, causing a large wound, as he would be tackled to the ground. Whatever this thing is, it's screaming directly in his face, as he would have moved the sword upwards, smashing into its head, killing it, using its body and throwing it into more, as they begin to surround Deku. Kirishima, she is killing and actually making her way to him. She's using her sword and her arm to actually do this. Her getting close enough. Pulling a pin on her grenade and throwing it outwards, along with her flare. These things are, annoying. but they are scurrying around and actually gathering to the heat source, basically trying to fight for it as if they were eating a live prey. Now, one of these things would immediately wrap up around Deku, being able to grab him and actually pull him up into the air as it begins smashing him to the ground. The airlock would begin to open, as Deku can feel this immediately depressurizing. His robe is basically being pulled directly towards the airlock, as Ibarra would throw out two vines. They are holding onto the guard rails, so they are safe. The sisters actually being ready in case anything does happen, radioing to the ones on the ship that they need to stay outside the airlock right now. If things don't go according to plan, pick up the Corn Child and Sister Kirishima, to which they would listen, doing so immediately. Everyone on board this ship is questioning what's going on, them basically looping around and seeing all these things out in space. Deku and Kirishima, they are holding onto these vines, as she's having to throw out more and more and more, basically showing the strain in her body. She's able to somewhat keep up with this until Kirishima's vine would snap. Deku immediately seeing this, he would throw out his arm and swing over to her, grabbing her by hers and holding on to her. The strain is a bit too much, as Deku would have told her to harden her arm. She would be confused as Deku would swing her up above him and slam her into the ground, her stabbing it into the metal, as she holds on. Deku would get his arm ready, as he would do the same, the vines immediately snapping on Deku. These two are holding it and actually fighting against the vacuum of space, as Momo would begin to close the airlock. As soon as it completely depressurizes and air begins to return, these two would somewhat be exhausted. Deku, he's been out there before, and he is not ready to try it again. So, this is something he will take a pass on. Now, the sisters would actually be impressed with Deku. He seems to learn from his mistakes. So, as this one would just hold her hand, saying, "Corn Child, you have my, well, not admiration, but interest. You show that you are not of ill intent. I am able to at least accept that for now, but you must know, saving your sister was a very brash decision. If your vine had snapped, we would have both died. Yes, I understand, sister. But this is not the first time my help has almost gotten someone killed." As Deku would someone look away for a second, saying that he understands. It's just that, if he can do something, he's not going to let the brother or the sister to him die. He will fight for them. As he would look at Kirishima for a second. She is panting heavily as the sister would say that she also got her respect. All of you performed admirably. Them going back to the ship, after it redocks, and heading off to the nearest planet. Now, that is going to be where I leave this part off, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I will catch you guys in the next part.